Escape Engineers Inspector Summary Video. Here we are in St. Joseph's. We've got this fire escape here that has several issues, a lot of emergency issues. This is the part one of the inspection, and we're going to talk and cover this part of the fire escape, and then we're going to cover a piece of the cantilever unit that is down below, and we're going to cover to about here. Talk about what needs to be done, talk about the emergency repairs, talk about the life safety concerns that are here, and what needs to happen, for this stuff to get repaired accordingly. All right, so let's start. First of all, the three codes that we're going to be satisfying. The authority having jurisdiction shall accept by load test or other evidence of strength, and that is the NFEA code. So right now, this fire escape is not structurally sound and has not been kept painted, so we cannot certify or load test this fire escape at this time. It has too many issues. The International Fire Code states that you must examine, test, or certify a fire escape, and a report must be sent to the city official. So we can't do that at all on this fire escape. We just examine it, and we cannot certify or load test at this time. Too many problems with the fire escape. And the building code requires that you examine, test, and certify the fire escape. So the building code also the International Fire Code as of 2012 is also now requiring that all fire escapes in the U.S. be examined every 5 years, and a report submitted to the city official, which is the fire prevention. So this is timely in that this is happening. So right now I cannot certify this fire escape. We got too many structural issues, and we have a huge paint issue. So let's deal with the paint issue first. The EPA requires that if you're going to be painting this fire escape, you have to have an EPA renovator's license dealing with the lead paint. Anything older than 1978, which this one is, presumed to have lead. So it's not that you have to have de-leading going on, but whoever touches this must know how to properly collect all the chips and properly dispose as per EPA guidelines, and must have a renovator's license to do that. With that also, because of the EPA, now you can no longer weld on these fire escapes as a means of repair, because you're burning on lead paint, and you're burning on lead metal that has lead in the paint. So you can't do that either. So, but the good thing about this fire escape is that a majority of this fire escape is bolted connections anyway. So that's how most fire escapes in the U.S. are done. So with that, let's talk about the structural. Life safety concerns. Right off the bat, we have life safety concerns. This platform right here has collapsed. And so right now you can see the amount of rust that occurs. And the amount of rust that occurs basically eats the bolts. And so this is an unsupported platform right here. You can see through. So that's unsupported there. The grating runs side to side, and the angles that are here, the only thing holding that up in the air. So, and this side back here already collapsed. It used to be higher, and already collapsed. Look at all the damage that rust does when you left unchecked. It eats through the metal on both sides. Okay, so the bolts are gone, the grating has fallen, but again, it's just on top of a roof. But this is a life safety concern. Major rust buildup in all the joint and all the connections. So this is a candidate for 100% refurbishment of the fire escape in order to make it pass and not need a load test. The grating's missing here, so there's a big step, and there's a trip hazard. This is a life safety concern. Every single fire escape tread needs to be rebuilt. Look at all that rust inside there. Every single one must be cleaned. Then you need to put it back, and you need to seal this so that water doesn't get in there, because it's just bad design overall. But every single one of these treads, 100% of all the treads. You got all the supports. As we go up, we get all the supports. They're all welded. Every one of those welds must be x-rayed or load tested, or gussets must be made with bolting to basically negate every one of those welds. The welds stay, but then you eliminate the need for a load test by bolting it. Every one of these clips needs to be cleansed and then rebolted. Look, the bolts, the nut, the shaft is gone, yet the head is still there. Okay, so this is what happens on a lot of these, basically 50, 75 plus year old bolts. We have an issue with the railings. These railings have these knuckles, and these knuckles sometimes rot from the inside out. And minimally, these are going to need new mesh here. If there's any part of this building that has residential in it, and it does on the top floor, it's going to need to mesh up this. So sometimes we recommend changing these railings out to standard rails with better mesh, galvanized if possible, so that you have the longevity. See all the rust building up? That rots the angle and the flat of this grating. See all that rust building up there? That's eating. Bad design. It basically collects dirt, and it's eating the angle and the grating. The through bolting, treads, clips, everything needs to be rebolted. Then you got to silicone shut it, put it all back. Let me see if we have something else here I want to show. Yes, this plate, you got a through bolt there. We got to make sure that there's a plate on the inside. We got to verify all these connections back into the building. While I'm here, let's talk about this major connection. We've got wall damage, and it's not even connected. I-beam is not even connected back into the building. It's all wide open. All welded connections here that we need to basically create gussets so that we don't have to x-ray or load test these welds. But then she overhangs, and basically we got to change that cable out because that's an original cable, and we got to make sure that it's balanced through this whole contraption. It's got to be balanced because she's got to have a release arm so that she drops 2 to 3 feet per second, hits the ground and stays down. But that's part of my number 2 inspection. But right now we've got a parapet wall here that's got damage. We need to get a mason in here. That's not going to be part of the structural. But the mason is basically just, once this is all gets settled in and properly secured, he needs to just come in and seal that so that there's no more ice jet. So again, all the treads match the same as before. All that platform there, same thing. All those welds need to be backed up. All those connections into the building need to be reinforced, and that's all within the ironworker's capability to tie that back properly into the building. And this through bolt that comes in here, that needs to be verified inside the building that that's in good order. Otherwise, we have to duplicate the connection with the new epoxy bolt. All the grating spacers need to be verified to make sure there's nothing that's going to open up and catch a foot. Otherwise, those need to be reinforced. Same thing applies here on this platform as applies down below. Properly retie that back into the building with new fasteners, or keep the original fasteners and make another angle clip up here and just put a new fastener. Again, a lot of times these have to be verified, or you can just jump them with another connection that basically nullifies some of these connections at the top while keeping the same original rail. A lot of times it's easier just to replace the rails. Going back up, you can see the amount of rust that's built inside there. Huge amount of rust. Once this gets rebolted, we need to seal the fronts and the rears of these things so that this rust doesn't grow this much anymore. 100% of all your treads have 1/4 inch, 3/8, or 1/2 inch growth. Stringer clips. A lot of these are damaged, need to be fixed. A lot of this original hardware, okay? Treads, let's go up to the very top. wall welded brackets. Got to be backed up. See the water that's getting into the building with those rusty tiers? Sealed. Anything to the building must be cemented and then sealed. Grading. This is the top floor. All original hardware. All these need to be come out. 100% tiebacks into the building. All brand new connections. Or keep the originals and make another one next to it if that's easier and faster. So all original hardware. No evidence of maintenance. Needs a full paint job. Needs a full primer job and then a paint job because I've got no paint left on this thing. Okay? So if you have any questions on so far, I'm about to do the second half that's going to be on that cantilever down below. Any questions, Farscape Engineers? Inspect the summary video. We're here in St. Joseph's, Missouri. 866-649-0333. inspect the summary video. We're here in St. Joseph's, Missouri. This is part 2 of the fire escape inspection on this entire structure here. What we have here is a fire escape that must be structurally sound, must be kept painted in order to pass the inspection and be certified or proceed immediately to the load test. We cannot do that on this fire escape either. This second half of the fire escape that encompasses the cantilever has many issues, primarily structural, and needs a full paint job. There's no paint left on this fire escape. This fire escape has not seen paint probably in 25 years at least. We got major structural problems in all the treads. Treads are broken, as you can see, broken treads there, broken treads there. Life safety issues, broken treads there, broken treads there. This one's broken. I'm stepping on one that's broken. And this cantilever is not balanced. So what happens is you're going to have to walk out, 5, 10, 15 treads before this thing will drop, and that's not the way it's supposed to be. That weight box has to be properly balanced so that this fire escape, once released, we need to create a release arm back here. It's going to block this way, and that release arm basically controls that weight box down there. And this release arm, once activated up here, lets this cantilever drop all by itself 2 to 3 feet per second, hit the ground, and stay down. That way, by the time somebody like myself comes down to the pivot point, the fire escape is already in a bottom position, and people can self-evacuate, and then the firemen can come here and go up this thing anytime they want. So that's the cantilever portion. Cable needs to be replaced because it's an older cable. Any original hardware must be swapped out for new hardware to avoid load testing. All welded connections. This is a perfect example of a suspect welded connection. So even though this weld looks good from this side, you can see evidence that it's rotting from the inside out because water gets in there through the back end, and that's what makes all these welds suspect. Okay, so the only thing we have to gusset this, put bolts there, bolt here, and basically negate all these welded connections with a gusset. We got wall issues. Every single one of these wall issues must be repaired, cemented, and all the connections at the very top need to be verified on the inside. And then you also, if not, you need to do a new through bolt to the left or to the right of this and negate this, but you still need to seal it up and finish it, but then put a new 3/4 through bolt or double 3/4 through bolt on this, because this is quite a bit of weight here. Through bolted back into the building so that we basically can carry. So again, all welded connections must be backed up with a bolt. First of all, they have to have no rust on it. So if we have rust anywhere, you got to clean the rust out first, then you can bolt it. But again, once you do a bolt here, you got to seal it all up with silicone. So all the connections got to be sealed with silicone and rebolted to avoid the load test. So going back up this fire escape, I got treads that have ½ inch of rust on all of them. So every one of these treads, some of them are ready to fall. Every one of these treads on the fire escape cantilever has rust in it, ready to fall. So the emergency repairs must be done first to make this fire escape functional until such time that permanent repairs take effect. Going up now, you have original hardware everywhere. Everything is square head bolted. Every single one of these needs to be addressed, changed out, sealed, and silicone. All your railings have an issue, and that is you need more protective up here. But these knuckles and these railings tend to rot from the inside out, so we can do some investigation to verify whether or not we're just going to add mesh to this so that this property can be used residentially, or do we want to take these out and put in new railings 42-inch high with the mesh to avoid the issue with the 4-inch rule. So as you can see, bars are broken on this thing. Okay, so we got some railing repair. Some of these are 3/4 already. So definitely, even though the bolt is there, somebody's going to step on this incorrectly and this thing's just going to fall. See? She's ready to fall. So we've got quite a few. This, again, 100% of all these treads are ready to fall. Again, meaning they have ½ inch to 3/4 rust. All those have the same exact. So all the way to the top, this fire escape has not seen a repair in at least 25 years, at least. No paint on it, so you're going to need to wire brush it down, and then you're going to need to apply a full primer coat, and then you're going to have to apply a full top coat or 2 top coats depending on what the client's willing to expend on this. Every single connection into the building, once you've repaired it with cement, you need to then seal it so water doesn't get back in there anymore. Every one of these, once they get repaired, you got to seal this. In some cases, you leave the existing, seal it up, and then you put another clip to the side and you put another bolt. If this is a weakened area, you can make an angle clip here, bolt it this way, and it basically eliminates the need. No welding. The EPA doesn't allow any welding on a fire escape that has lead. So there's no welding allowed as a repair tactic. This is 100% full refurbishment of this existing fire escape system. Okay, let me go up and I'm going to show you guys this main support for the cantilever. It's carrying a lot of weight, so we need to verify that and duplicate that. As you can see, every single tread has rust issues. Our main concern is look at all this spalling. So we're going to need to get a mason in here. We'll be able to repair within a certain part of our work, but then a mason needs to come in and button up the rest. This platform is not even supported anymore. All the bolts have gone, so it's an unsupported platform, so another life safety concern here. And as you can see, she already fell back there, and there's nothing holding this platform up other than this grating going to side, but then there's no bolts holding the shelf angle that holds it in position. So I'm going to gingerly step over, but this amount of rust everywhere, that's what's causing all of these things to pop its bolts. I already talked about the weight there. I already talked about all this needs to be sealed so no more water gets in there from the top. So full refurb on this whole fire escape is the main question. The second is, do we want to modify the existing rails because they're in good order to include new mesh at the top portion also, or do we want to take all these rails out and just put in a brand new rail system with rail bar with pickets every 4 inches, or with mesh? We also want to discuss the issue with how we're going to verify these connections into the building, make sure everything is good, so we can avoid the load test. 100% of all the fasteners need to come out and new fasteners in. Every joint is going to be sealed with 35 to 50-year silicone. All welded connections have to be gusseted to avoid the load test on this fire escape. All the grading needs to be verified so that those spaces are not rotting from the inside out. All cement work, it's got to be done, and then you got to stop the water from getting in there. So do the cement work and then seal it up so no water gets back into this building and causing other issues that you may not know where they're coming from, but we do. So all welded connections of any kind, back it up with the bolts on this whole structure. Any questions regarding the cantilever, regarding the way it's tied into the building, the fire escape in itself? Fire escape engineers, this is Inspector Cisco Meneses. 866-649-0333, 866-649-0333. Fire escape does not pass inspections, has life safety concerns as we speak. Fire escape's the next step now is to send a copy to the city official. A emergency plan should be put into place in that no one in the building can actually use this fire escape right now, so we need to block off these doors, saying not to be used until emergency repairs can make this fire escape functional, and then permanent repairs will get this fire escape certifiable in lieu of a load test. Whether or not they want a permit on this during painting and fastener refurbishment is to be discussed with the city official, and whether or not there's going to be any extensions of anything, including the rails. In some cases, when you modify certain pieces on a fire escape, it triggers a permit request, such as new rails. Any questions, fire escape engineers? 866-649-0333.